Welcome to Leadership Live with Anton Gunn. It is so great to be on with you again this week. I really have an exciting conversation today. At least it's always exciting to me because it's around the subject of employee engagement. Now, we're going to talk a lot about today how to identify if your employees are disengaged and, more importantly, what you need to do about it. Now, the reason why employee engagement is the topic for today and why it's so important is because of the recent research that we published, the State of Workplace Injustice Report. Now, I'm pretty sure that you've heard me talk about this, if not last week, the week before, or the week before that, or the week before that, or you may have read it in some way, shape, or form because it's been written about in more than 150 outlets at this point and shared across the country and even across the world, as I know some people in France and other international countries have been talking about the State of Workplace Injustice Report. Now, the State of Workplace Injustice Report specifically talks about the economic impact of disengaged employees. Now, when I say the economic impact of employee disengagement, I want you to understand that when employees disengage from work, that means they're less productive, their morale is in the toilet. It means that they're not literally doing the things that they were doing before to have an impact in the workplace, that they're checking out. They're slowly checking out. Now, if you don't believe that this happens, or if you know it happens but don't think it's happening where you are, I want you to stay tuned because I'm going to tell you 5 ways to identify if employees in your organization are checking out. And then once I help you to identify the ways that they're checking out, I'm going to give you a few things that we lay out in the State of Workplace Injustice Report that can turn the tide from disengaged employees to get them engaged and really finding out what's going on. Now, the big reason, or when I say the big reason, the biggest financial reason for you to pay attention to employee disengagement is the economic cost to employers in the United States of America. In our research, we have shown that employee disengagement has an economic consequence of $777.9 billion a year. An economic impact of low productivity, low morale, disengagement across the board is significant to you. And so if you don't care about anything else, and I would tell you first is to always care about your people. Your people are your most important asset. But sometimes leaders only care about their P&L statement, their profit and loss statement. They care about the bottom line. Where's the profit? Where's the loss? Where's the income? Where's the expenses? And if you care about the expenses, then I want you to know that $777 billion is a big expense. And you can decrease that expense. You can mitigate that expense by actually doing a better job of engaging your employees. Okay, so let me jump right into it. This is going to be real quick. I don't plan to be long today. I want to give you these nuggets, get you writing them down, paying attention to it. And again, I've already led into some of these. So number one, the first way to identify whether you have a disengaged employees is if you are seeing a decrease in productivity. Now, when I say seeing a decrease in productivity, I want you to look at your dashboard of productivity. Like, what metrics have you used internally in your organization to determine productivity amongst your employees? And if you see productivity is declining, then that's a sign simply that people are disengaged, that they're not as productive. They're finding other things to do is because they're not focused on the main thing, which is their work. Simple as that. If you got decreased productivity, that's letting you know that your employees are disengaged. That's probably the most obvious sign. One that most business owners and leaders always point to is productivity or lack thereof. Second sign that you have disengaged employees is if you have employees who lack initiatives. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean a lack initiative. Let's say you have someone on your team who was always the most innovative. They always brought new ideas. They always had something to say. They added value to every meeting that they were in because they were the person who was trying to be creative and trying to come up with new ways to solve old problems. They just took initiative. They just did the things that they were supposed to do and the things that they weren't supposed to do, just trying to help her. They chipped in a lot. Now, if you start to see that a person who always chips in is not chipping in, they're not bringing new ideas, they're not trying to add value to the meeting or to the work that you're doing, you don't see them sharing insightful articles with you. If they're not taking initiative, not jumping in first to show up, last to lead a meeting, helping people to get things set up, if they're not really showing that initiative, chances are they're disengaged. So lacking initiative is a clear telltale sign that you got disengaged employees. Simple as that. Now, the third one, I kind of talked about this last week when I talked about supervisor mistreatment, because supervisor mistreatment leads to this, but it's also a sign of disengagement, is when you have increased absenteeism amongst your employees. Now, when I say increased absenteeism, literally people taking lots of time off, sick, got some other challenge, showing up late, not really being in the workplace, even though they're at work, long lunches. Absenteeism is a sign that people are disengaged. They can find plenty of other things better to do than to be at work working with you or working for you. That's a sign of disengagement right there, is when people are literally absent from work. They're taking extra sick days. They're taking mental health days. They're checking out. I'm telling you, I've heard people tell me that they would literally take a sick day so they would go interview for another job because they wanted to save their vacation days to get away from you. But they're going to go find another job by taking sick days. So absenteeism is a real telltale sign that you got disengaged employees. So that's the third one. And the fourth one, this is the one that you might mistake as a disengagement thing, but you might just think somebody is having issues. And that is a poor attitude or morale at work. And when I say poor attitude, I'm talking poor attitude. The person who always badmouths everybody. They complain about everything. They always tell you how many times things ain't gonna work. They always got something to say. Well, we tried that already. That didn't work. Or we did that back in 1981 and it didn't work then, so it ain't gonna work now. That anybody who's got a poor attitude and their morale is in the toilet, they're disengaged. They can't find a way to get focused on the work and stay creative and excited. So they just want to drag everybody down with their attitude. Attitude is everything, as Keith Harrell would say. But people with poor attitude is everything to show you that they're disengaged at work. So pay attention to it. Now, the fifth sign is if you got high turnover rates. And I'm not just talking high turnover rates from frontline staff. I'm talking about high turnover rates from people who you never thought were going to leave. Bob's a lifer. Ain't no way he's leaving us. Jan's a lifer. There's no way she's leaving us. But if these people start to leave, they're disengaged. They're going to work somewhere else because they don't feel excited and inspired and empowered about the culture that you have created in your organization. So there you have it, the 5 ways to identify disengaged employees. Are they lower on their productivity? Are they not taking initiative? Are they out sick all the time and not at work? Do they got a piss poor attitude when they show up for work? And number 5, did they just quit and you didn't expect them to quit? That's real talk. So now that you know how to identify what disengaged employees like, let me tell you from the State of Workplace Injustice Report a few things that you can do to turn this around. Number 1, you can openly communicate about the disengagement. So if you see those 5 things that I said above, number 1, and you got more than 2 of the 5 or 3 of the 5, and you can clearly identify productivity is down, initiative is down, and we got a lot of people out sick, say that. Say, listen, we see productivity is down and people are not taking initiative like they used to be, and we have a higher percentage of people out sick. Does anybody have any idea why that is? Do you know what's going on that is reducing productivity and initiative and more people being out sick? Ask the question. That way your team can start to ponder and think about what do we need to be doing differently to stem that tide or to turn it around. Very simple is to have open communications about the problem. The second thing you can do is to make sure that your company has opportunities for growth for people in the organization. Because people will get disengaged when they feel stagnated, when they feel like there's no upward mobility, there's nowhere else for me to go. If your organization is super flat, people will disengage because they get tired of doing the same thing over and over again. No variety of opportunities for promotion or improvement or to expand my role, add new responsibilities, sit on new committees. Like if you want to turn things around, you got to create opportunities for people to grow. And I put several ideas in my book, Just Lead. I'm not pitching the book now or anything, but I want you to know there are multiple ways for you to create opportunities for people to grow. And if you're not doing that, then that's why they're going to get disengaged, but you can turn it around by creating them. The third one is real simple. 2 words: rewards and recognition. People want to be rewarded for the work that they're doing, and they want to be recognized for the impact that they're making. So if you want to increase engagement, you got to find a way to do a better job of rewarding your employees and recognizing them. And sometimes rewards are monetary, but they're not all the time. Sometimes it's really just shouting them out, inviting them to have an opportunity. I'm going to reward you with an opportunity to join the innovation team. I'm going to reward you with the opportunity to join me on this project. I'm going to reward you with the opportunity to play golf with me or to play tennis with me. There's a lot of ways to reward people, but it's more important to make sure that you recognize them, that you tell them that you see the work that they're doing and you acknowledge them in front of other people when they're doing great work. So if you want to turn the tide around of employee disengagement, you got to learn how to recognize and reward your employees, period, point blank. Now, the fourth thing you need to do if you want to turn things around and avoid disengaged employees is to focus on people's health and well-being. I'm telling you right now, I was just in a meeting last week with a CEO who said one of the top things that's on his mind for all of his employees around the world is their health and well-being. Their well-being. The well-being of the workforce is an important thing. 1 in 5 people might be facing a mental health crisis right now in the workplace. So if 1 in 5 people are facing a challenge in the workplace, you got to find a way to be focused on their well-being. So I want you to understand that this is your responsibility as a leader. It's not anybody else's responsibility, but your job should be tuned in to what's going on with your employees. Again, this is something that I've taught for years. There's 3 questions that every employee is asking. Do you care about me? Will you help me? And can I trust you? And the will you care about me is when you're focused on their health and well-being. So the question is, are you? Are you thinking about how to be more focused on the health and well-being of your team? If you are, then you'll clearly know when people are disengaging and how to turn it around. And the last example, or the last thing that you can do to fix the disengagement in the workplace, is for you as a leader to not be disengaged. That you got to be engaged yourself. You got to lead by example. So the question is, how productive are you? How much initiative are you taking? Are you taking a lot of time off? Are you not at work? Does your team see you at a regular basis out playing golf or on the tennis courts or just not in the office? If you're not in the office, then how do you expect somebody else to engage? If you're not visibly around, how do you expect people to be excited about what work is going on in your workplace when you're not even there? When the boss is away, the people will disengage. They won't be productive. They won't take initiative. They're going to take off too. They're going to quit. So you need to lead by example. You got to be the one first in, last out. That's the responsibility of leadership. But so many people don't want to own their responsibility. And that leads to disengaged employees, which leads to low productivity, low morale, lack of trust, and a massive negative economic impact on your organization. So the only way to turn that around is to openly communicate about these things. Number one. Number two, create more opportunities for growth for people. Number three, reward and recognize them at the highest level. Focus, number four, on their health and well-being. And number five, lead by example. So I want to thank you for joining me for another Leadership Live. I hope you've gotten some value out of this and used some of these tools to improve your engagement with your team, your productivity, and the impact that you have as a leader inside your organization. Make it a great day, and we'll talk to you.